My name is Gianni Russo, a.k.a. Carlo, the infamous son-in-law from The Godfather. I'm now known as the Hollywood Godfather, and this is my story.
Before all of the wins in my portfolio, I was a little boy diagnosed with polio. Experimenting with cures, I tried every one. Felt everything in my right, but my left was numb. Walking with a limp, like will I ever run? Once again, or is this it? Am I forever done? Living in the hospital was never fun. Some people were cool, but not everyone.
Welcome, everybody. It's time for another Hollywood Godfather podcast. And we're really etching up to 300 hours. I can't believe we have 300 hours up. Thanks to all of you who listen in. Let me introduce Jeannie Riemann, my co-host. Thank God for her. She brings all the glamour to the show.
Oh, well, hi, Gianni, and hello to you out there. Thanks for joining us.
Tonight we have an interesting show because I have a lot of people have always asked me about Tootsie Shorts. Somebody just stopped me on the street the other day because they listen to the show regularly. But we'll get into that. The interesting thing is that both of us, without even asking, watched that fight the other night. How did you get involved with the fight?
You know, I was invited by some friends to go and watch the fight, and I'm not much into boxing. However, I did go. I was in Las Vegas walking through a casino, and a guy came up and was talking to me and a friend and said, "Hey, I've got an extra ticket to go see Mike Tyson. Do you want to go?" And my friend said, "Absolutely, she'll go," and kind of shoved me, and off I went. And it was Razor Riddick. So it was before the ear biting situation. And so I did go see Mike Tyson then, but it wasn't something I was going to Las Vegas.
That was a while ago you're talking about.
Years and years ago.
The original one, okay.
Yeah, and then this weekend someone said, "Hey, do you want to go watch the fight?" And I was like, "Sure.
Why not?" Yeah.
Wow, what a night of fighting. There was some great fights that night.
Well, I only tuned in because I saw all the shenanigans that were going on with Jake Paul, and one day he had a rooster on his head. I mean, they were obviously promoting the fight, and they did a good job. Because now that the statistics are in, I can't believe Jake Paul got $47 million.
Holy cow.
Fight. And when you figure that fight, I didn't know this either. The statistics, because of Mike's age, which I think was so great that they did this, because they obviously knew he was not going to go 8 rounds, but he had to go 8 rounds. And normally the rounds were 3 minutes. This time they're only 2 minutes. So you're talking about 16 minutes of fighting. And
for $47 million.
And Jake Paul got 47. Mike, if he went the 8, got 20 million. Still, $20 million. That's more than $1 million a minute. Hello.
Can you imagine?
Why don't we get a job like that?
No kidding. They said something else about they were using bigger boxing gloves. Did you hear that part? They were using a different gloves.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. They used 12 ounce instead of 10 ounce. And, I think your regular box is 8 ounces, but they did that even. But, watching the fight in the 6th round, you could see Jake was backing off. In fact, we have a photograph that I'd like you to put up for our audience.
Okay.
Just at the last round, when he was coming back, and he already knew he carried him for 2 rounds.
Sure.
But he bowed to him and gave him the respect as a legend. You didn't hear the audio. Or did you hear? Were you watching it?
I was watching it, and I did see that. And I could see it was kind of like he would throw some punches, and I think he could have gone after him at any minute and probably finished Tyson off earlier. But I did think it was a big show of respect that Jake Paul was giving Mike Tyson,
Yeah. And the thing is, not even today, I'm still reading these comments. I mean, the world has gotten so angry and vicious They're all saying, oh, it was a fix, it was this. I saw it very clearly at the 6th round. He could have knocked him out then.
Oh, I think so.
What's the big advantage?
Right.
He treated him with respect. They went the other 2 rounds. They hugged, and he basically said, "You're a legend." And I mean,
Yeah.
what a nice way to go out. And I mean, and now you got all these idiots that are ringside. I'd like to see them in a ring.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
you're exactly right, because, and which I find so sad. No matter what comes, if you look at Instagram, if you look at anything, people will I just wish there was a way, like, okay, for just for the day, every Wednesday, you can do nothing except write nice comments. I so often think, back in the day where they would say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I'm
oh
like,
yeah,
I
that
like
was
that much better than
not
everybody
anymore.
else.
They look for things to say.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's terrible.
The
But
great,
I'm glad you took away from the fight the same thing I did. I mean,
right.
it's insane. They had more views than the Olympics. They had
Oh, really?
20 million people watch that fight.
Wow.
And I guess it was because all the, promotion, the antics of
Sure.
that. But I think I have a better respect for this Jake Paul now.
Right.
I thought he was an idiot. But now,
Right.
you could see he's got compassion, and it was a
Yeah.
nice thing.
A
But
class act in the end there. And I didn't see much of it because I'm not a big boxing fan. I don't mind them boxing, but when they're beating the hell out of each other, it just
oh
stresses me
yeah,
out.
oh,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
The women before, holy smokes. Those
When
women,
I was a
whew,
kid, I don't even watch that. I can't even see women fighting to me.
no, I didn't
I'm
watch
old
much.
school. But the interesting thing, I used to go to the fights a lot with Frank Costello. He had the best seats in the world at the Garden. And a lot of times I couldn't sit with him because he had people who deserved those seats. But like a maniac, I said, you know what? This guy likes boxing so much. So I joined the PAL as part of my church, the Police Athletic League. And they used to have the Golden Gloves. And so I went into the Golden Gloves and I was in my division and I won my division. And I'm saying to myself, oh, now what? So they asked me if I wanted to have a professional fight at the Corona Gardens in Corona, New York. So I told him, he said, you don't want to go do that. Are you nuts? I said, why? You like boxing so much. I said, I'm going to do one. I should have listened to him. I didn't realize people like me just coming out of the Golden Gloves, they're building a boxer so he gets knockouts. So they
Oh.
knew they were going to try to knock me out. This guy beat me. It was only 3 rounds, thank God. But for 3 rounds, he beat me, and I was determined not to get knocked out, and he didn't knock me out. But the next day, my eyes were closed. My face was so swollen, and that was it. I never went in the ring again.
Oh my
And,
hell.
and for a week, every time he saw me every day, because I had to see him, he said, how you like boxing? How you like boxing?
Oh,
But
that's so crazy. Yeah, I look at them and you wonder how their face just keeps their ears, the MMA fighters, and they come out of it with their ears. I'm like, especially for a guy, if I had bad ear, at least I could hide it. But for a man, you're screwed if you screw those up.
yeah, you can't
And,
hide it. You don't have the long
and,
hair.
and it never goes away.
No, that's
So,
crazy. But
yeah,
anyway, I thought we should talk about I was happy you saw the fight. And to Jake Paul, I got a big respect for you, man. Because
yeah.
Mike Tyson, no matter what, 58, he is a legend. The guy's had more knockouts and everything else. But moving on,
All right.
someone stopped me the other day, and they were so enamored that I used to go to Toots Shores all the time. But it was part of my route. And
Oh,
Costello was there every day. And 3 or 4 o'clock, Toots Shores was the place to be. But there was one guy that I really got to like a lot. He was a jovial guy. His name was Jackie Gleason.
oh,
And I
hilarious.
was the guy that would stay home and watch TV. But as I got to know him, he called me over one day, and I was a kid, I was in my teens. And he said, what's your name? I said, let's not go through that because,
Yeah,
I couldn't tell him my name.
right.
He said, why does everybody respect you? Everybody knows you in this place. I said, it's probably because of the guy I work for. He said, who do you work for? I said, Frank Costello. He said, yeah, that could be it. So anyway, but he was like always an old uncle. If there was nobody there, he'd call me over and talk to him. Most of the time there was, everybody in the world went to Toots in the afternoon. And I'm talking about for years and years and years. And so I got to know and research the guy now more so as, just to reflect. I
Sure.
didn't realize this guy was on television for 18 years straight.
Oh, really?
And the character that I like when they did that skit on The Honeymooners, him and Art Carney, that was only one season,
Oh, you're
that
kidding.
show. Then all they did was bring in that little skit between them every once in a while for the rest of the season. For some reason, I guess the critics didn't like it. But the
Oh,
man spent 18 years on television.
that's crazy.
And we know the studio was the Letterman show. Now it's Stephen Colbert studio. They keep renaming it. That was CBS's studio, still is. But what I found out funny is that he was living at the Park Sheridan Hotel right on 7th Avenue. So he'd walk over to Toots Shores in the afternoon, get drunk, and everybody in the world was always there, Sinatra, and that was a lot of the people that were talking to me. And only to find out he introduced Sinatra to Jack Daniels liquor.
Oh,
And that became Sinatra's drink. He always drank Jack Daniels. I don't know who did it, but so he took the respect for that. But what I found out was even funnier, while he was living at the Park Sheridan, downstairs in the barbershop in 1961, Albert Anastasia was assassinated
oh, you're kidding.
while he was living there. I couldn't believe it. And
Oh,
I remember going to Toots Shores, they were all talking about it, but I didn't realize he was there. He was lived upstairs when that happened. It was because it's in the morning, he came in for a shave.
oh
But
my gosh. It's funny
this-
how all these people intertwine in one way or another. All the movie stars, all the gangsters,
oh
I've always
no.
thought of,
Well, again, because we spoke about that. If you were in show business, there was no way not to get involved with a gangster because they owned all the nightclubs, they owned all the record labels. That's when they got busted for payola years
Payola.
later. But if you didn't know a gangster or somebody that knew a gangster, you're not going nowhere in that business. So I guess it's all part of the MO of being a celebrity. And for me, it was a launching pad because, even with Sinatra, one of my last big friendships was with Sinatra until he died in 71.
Oh, wow.
And I met him, then. And by the time he died, I was like 25 or 26. That's
Oh,
when,
really?
that's when The Godfather came out in 72.
That's crazy because I think of you guys hanging out and I don't think of you as such a young kid, with Sinatra. I can't even imagine, such a great, and I'm sure when you well, you knew him as somebody incredible from the day you met him, right? Because you had listened to him on your radio
As
from
you,
the
as you
hospital.
remember, I met him through a transistor radio
Right.
that was given to me, and I didn't meet him personally for 3 or 4 years later when I started working for Costello, and he was doing a sound check at the Copacabana. But from that point on, until he died, I was friends with him. And there was so many other people, like, Grace Kelly used to go there every day. Everybody was at Toots Shores. It was the place to go have a drink before you went out, and it was a place to go before you went home. So it was either Copa or Toots Shores, but it's like when you go through the people, that were there. And then, 'cause
Right.
everybody saw me so much, they'd call me over and ask me to talk to me. Like Grace Kelly, I met her a couple of times, when I used to go pick her up at the Barbizon thing for the flowers
Yeah.
for the table, which I didn't even know that was about. But those kind of relationships, but that's what New York used to be. And I was thinking about when I was doing the notes of this show. That's all gone. I mean,
That's what
New
I
York,
was gonna say.
New York to me is like boring right now. But
Well, that's
I'm
what I
happy
was
with.
it's just, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
Oh,
it's
please.
so different now because the friendships you made at a night after work, you could go have a drink, and now those days, are gone. Even from years ago, when 20 years ago, when I had friends, we'd all go. Our friends owned a club, and we would go hang out there, and maybe have a drink after work, and then go on. But you know, I just don't I don't know that people do that like they used to.
They
And it
don't.
certainly wasn't as fun as what you guys were doing, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean that was the thing. And even my cousin Louis Russo, he has two restaurants on my block, and he's not getting that third turn, or
Yeah.
nobody's coming in after 8:30, 9 o'clock. 9:30, I mean, his place is like ghost town. And we're talking about, he's got the number one restaurant in New York City for years, Scananatella. It's right here, 61st and 3rd Avenue. Limousines are constantly outside. But I'd come home 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, and there was still limousines. Not
Yeah.
anymore. It's a
Was
shame.
that since COVID, or was that just dying off before?
Well, I think when COVID started it, and then the crime, and then
Yeah,
all these migrants or immigrants or whoever they are that came in, and we're
scary.
warned constantly. I mean, I live in a very affluent neighborhood, but there's crime going on right down the block. These people are coming in, mugging people, and some of it's not even robberies. They're just like getting their I don't know, they're just jealous and they beat up people that got money. But I'm well protected now. I mean, I stopped carrying a gun for a long time. I got a cane. I used
Oh
that
yeah.
times. But even the head of the U.S. Marshals, I won't name him, came for dinner here, and I told him what was going on. He said, "Johnny, put your gun back on." I said, "Why?" These are Venezuelan organized groups now that are here.
Yeah.
In Venezuela, I didn't realize it. They emptied a prison out. They
Oh, gee.
sent 5,000 criminals here, and they're all over the place now. That's why
Wow.
Trump got in. Thank God. He's saying he's going to
Yeah.
straighten
Gonna
this out because somebody has to do it. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's terrifying. I was listening, Judge Judy was talking to somebody about the money that was wasted. I shouldn't quote her because I can't say exactly, but she just was talking about the crime in the streets and how, in her opinion, money should be put towards that as opposed to some of the other stuff the government's wasted its money
Well,
on.
I mean, unfortunately, I'm still friends with Donald Trump, and I was at Mar-a-Lago for a
Oh, that's
weekend
right.
with him just recently. And now that he got in, I mean, I know what his thoughts are.
Yeah,
I hope he carries it out, and I think he will, because that's who he is.
right. Right, right. All right, well, let's just take a quick break and make a little money and talk about what's coming up, and then we'll come right back.
And the good news about what you're saying, we are making money. I suggested to our audience now that the holiday season is coming in to go to the App Store and buy the Cameo app, and go on there and look up my name. And for a birthday or for Christmas, I'll send you a message. And what I like about it, even for myself now, because the message is sent to your phone or wherever your emails go, but it's a visual. And they're always 3 or 4 minutes, a message that you want me to say, but it's memorialized on your phone forever.
That's
It's not like
right.
it's not like a birthday card or something. This is a card that stays on your phone. You could show people what I said for you, share it with friends. So go to Cameo, download the app, and if it's for a birthday or Christmas or somebody gave me the greatest privilege the other day. They sent me one asking me to ask their brother-in-law to be the godfather to the newborn baby. To me, I
Oh,
felt that was part of the whole situation. It's so great.
isn't it fun to be part of something? I mean, talk about this kid when he grows up to be able to see,
Yeah, you could
look
show
who
it.
announced this.
Yeah.
Yeah, from The Godfather. Oh, well, that's fantastic. I'll be sure and we'll get that a link to that or some mention of it in our show notes so that
Oh yeah, please, please.
everybody goes on. And boy, what a surprise for your family. If you've got a Godfather fan, that would
And
be
you
a
know, it's so
great.
funny. I'm doing one or two a day now.
Oh, really?
Oh, they're coming. I just got one just before I went on the air, which I love. It's great.
Oh, absolutely. Now, it's fun to be able to for you to be able to put those out, but for the people that are getting them, I can't imagine. That's fantastic.
No, it's been good.
So fun.
All right, so let's get. I mean, let's get back to the watering hole of Toots Shores, because and reflecting on that. I mean, have you done research on him to see who hung out there?
On Toots,
Yeah,
and I haven't seen much on Toots. I was looking a little more into Jackie Gleason. Now, did Jackie Gleason go to Toots Shores?
every day.
Oh, well,
He
I'll
would
tell you.
go. What happened? He'd go from 7th Avenue to Toots Shores, and then they have to go tape his show around 6 or 7 o'clock. This guy, they'd send a car to pick him up. They knew where he was. I mean, he'd stagger out. I don't know how he went and did the show. This guy was polluted. Then I found out in his dressing room he had an oxygen tank. And you take pure oxygen and sobers you up. So he
Oh,
must have
wow.
one on the stage with him because, this guy was really hammered sometimes. I couldn't understand it. But
You know, the some of the crazy stuff I saw about him, he was going to to come back to television and do his show, and he was on an airplane and both engines had gone out. So then he decided to do a train, and I think they called it the Gleason Express, and that looked like a party. He was going all over promoting his show in this train. And boy, I'll tell you what, that looked like a party. He was dancing up a storm and he looked like he was a fun guy.
oh, I mean, he definitely was. And, I had the privilege, so many years being there. Then I moved on when I went out on the road for the Kennedy election and all that and lost track of him. But the man was a legend. And what I really liked about him, I don't know if most of our audience have seen it, but he did a movie called The Hustler with Paul Newman,
Right.
and George C. Scott was in it, but he played a Minnesota Fats. But what people didn't know, and I talked to him about it, but when he was a kid, he was a bartender and a bar back
Oh, that's
in a
right.
local bar. And when he did that bit with the apron, that's the way he used to wear his apron because he was so fat. It was high. So he brought it in, made it a character in his own show. But why I'm bringing it up, when he got the bar cleaned, they had pool tables there. He became an absolute pool shark and a hustler. So when they asked him to do the Hustler movie,
He was like, I'm your
all
guy.
all that pool shooting and all that was him. He was doing it. There wasn't a stand-in. He was making those shots. He really knew what he was doing. It was like
That's awesome. Well, I did see that, but the movie that my favorite, of course, is Smokey and the Bandit.
oh my God, that was funny too.
Oh my gosh. There's still lines from that show. I've seen that show 100 times. I think I was maybe 10 when that movie came out. And I've seen it.
Tell our audience, because a lot of them may have not seen it.
Smokey and
The
the
amount
Bandit.
of stars in that.
Absolutely. Jerry Lewis, of course, the gorgeous Burt Reynolds. My gosh. Sally Fields. I mean, that show was hilarious. Oh, who's that? The little guy. Oh, the actor, the little short guy, and it was the guys that had made the bet at the beginning of the show. That's why they were doing the trying to do that race with them. But I'll tell you what a show. Sally Fields, I probably didn't know who she was before that show, and everybody knew that Burt Reynolds and that Trans Am.
Oh my God, yeah. No, but you know, it's interesting like that because all these movies now are available on some streaming or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I like watching the older movies than the new ones anyway, with all this sci-fi and all that stuff like that. But
well, and I think I know they had a couple of those, Smokey and the Bandits, but it's one of those things that you'll never beat the first one, right? And I can't even begin to tell you the millions of times I've seen that. And even today, funny quotes that came up from the movie, like Sally Fields, he gave her a cigarette and she smoked it and started choking. And he said, you really should quit. And she's like, oh, but I enjoy it so much, or something like that. It was just such a great one but he was, what did he say the whole time? You some bitch, through the whole show. Oh, and that's probably when I first kind of knew who he was. But I know he was on so many other things, but that's where he sticks out in my mind.
But even having a TV show for 18 years straight on CBS, that's insanity.
Really? Because nowadays the sitcoms and stuff, they'll go for a long time, but 18 years, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's short. And it's funny because seeing him at Toots, and that's the first time I ever saw Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio together.
Oh, really?
They were still married then, because I met her later on when they got separated. And I was a shampoo boy at the time, but and Grace Kelly was in there all the time. In fact, she introduced me to her sister when they came into the city. They were sleeping overnight, going to the Copacabana, which Costello was such a gentleman. When the ladies were there in the Copacabana, sitting at a table by themselves, if he had to get up and leave them, he'd call me over. I was always on standby, standing some doorway or something, to sit with the ladies so nobody bothers them.
Wow.
But that's an era that is so gone now. I don't. If I left my apartment now in New York City, I don't know what bar to go to. Nobody's there.
I was just going to say, you had so many options, because it sounded like there were a lot of fun places to go back in the day.
I took a job down the block. I'll never forget it. Michael Feinstein's, which is a famous place in New York at that time, was at the Regency Hotel, 61st and Park.
Oh.
It's 3 blocks from my house. So they came up to me one time and they said, we want to offer you every Monday night. I said, what? They said, yeah. Everybody knows you. You got a big following. Wow. I was at Feinstein's here for 6 years straight, every Monday night. I couldn't wait to go. It was like the living room. Plus, I'm making money. I always had 100 years of good behavior. Every mobster came to see me, which, they love, because these guys send him a bottle, give me that check, give me that. That's all these guys did. But now, here I am. I don't even want to leave my house sometimes. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And as we brought it out, the streets are so.
Right. You're taking your life in your own hands. Well, and there was such fun people back then. It sounds like.
Oh, yeah, it was totally different.
Oh, my gosh. It sounded like it was just a ball. Now, was Jackie Gleason a singer?
No, he was a musician.
Okay. I thought I saw some albums.
He wrote a lot of music.
Okay.
He produced music even. And that nobody actually knew about. He had albums out.
Yeah, that's what I had seen. And I thought maybe, and I kept thinking, well, that's him. But I've never thought of him as a singer.
No, he became a composer by himself. Just did it. And you know, he had everything at his disposal, and he put out a couple of albums.
You
No,
know,
the guy was like, you know, a
very
jack of all
talented.
trades, basically, very talented.
Well, I was listening to a thing. Nowadays, it used to be, of course, you look it up on the internet and you could Google it and you thought you got the right info. But there was a story I was reading about him that said his mother was so overly protective of him, she didn't even let him go to school till he was 8 years old.
Well, you know why, though? Don't you know why?
No, no.
His older brother died,
Oh, that
and
would
the
make sense.
father was an alcoholic.
Yes.
He left her, so that
Yeah.
was just him and her. So she protected him. And
Yeah.
I read that long ago, which I loved about him. But
Yeah.
no, he was on the street, and he took jobs to help make money.
Yeah. Help
But
her.
a real character. Everybody loved him because he was like a big teddy bear.
Yeah. Well, speaking of overprotective, when you said that, my she's got 3 stepkids, which she treats just as her own, but her baby is 2, and she's always been able to take her to work with her. And my mother asked her the other day, she said, "Well, what are you going to do once the baby's old enough to go to school?" And my daughter said, "Well, I guess I'm going to have to start teaching school." Because
Well,
she's,
no, a lot. Well, you know, a lot of mothers are doing that homeschooling,
yeah. Well, she
and
just, I can,
you know, I don't see there's anything wrong with it.
no, it
But
was
you
just
know,
funny. Well, my daughter, she's gone to school and she's got a degree, and uh, you know, when she went to college, and I guess she graduated from the high school, I think it was 2013, and she was going to college. And she said, "Mom, it got to the point," and this was before everybody was doing online schooling. She said, "I couldn't concentrate in the classrooms because I just had to watch the doors." And she said, "I was terrified someone was going to come in and shoot us." She said
oh
it
wow.
was,
Oh, so that's in the current 10 years or
well,
15.
yeah, it's been, yeah. She just said when I first started going to college, she said it was so distracting just because of all the stuff you heard. And in the last 10 years, of course, it's gotten so much worse. And I thought, if that was something I never had to worry about. You never worried about anything like that. But
No.
nowadays, just even in all the different schools, how all that changes. But so
I
that,
was told, even by my grandson now that goes to college up in Providence, Rhode Island, they actually have, like we used to have fire drills
oh
in
yeah,
schools and
active shooters.
buildings where so you know where the exits were.
Yep.
They have drills showing them how to hide, where to hide. And I mean, it's crazy when you think you have to go to school and worried about being shot now. I mean,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like we're a third world country or fourth world country.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
did a training last week, Gianni, and they actually I had 2 of them, and they talked about how the veterans, someone had come in, and I can't recall where it was, but um and just have to go to work. It's just how you have to keep your head on a swivel just to go outside. But and out work, we have people have to come in through a magnetometer and to come up to where we're at, and I just think, oh, it's heartbreaking uh, that it's gotten to be this way.
And you live in Utah.
Yeah.
You could
And
imagine New York City. New
oh, I
York
can't
City,
imagine.
forget about it.
I can't imagine. And they had we all have panic buttons on our desks now, and I just think, oh, it's
Oh,
heartbreaking.
really? Even your office?
Yeah.
That's
Yep. We
amazing.
had some training of what to do if something happens, and I'm good at de-escalating things. I've never had a gun pulled on me, but I've had some pissed off people. But hey, I was married a couple times. I know how to defuse some situations. I've learned when to try and calm things down. No,
I
but
didn't suppose you've been married yet. I didn't even know that.
hey, I'm not going to tell you, especially on here.
What?
I said, I'm not going to tell you, especially on here.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm just teasing you. But no, I've got big kids and I've got little kids. That's what I call them. When I had an 8 and 10-year-old, and then I had 2 more kids. So they're 8 and 10 years apart. So that's what I say. I only have to verify the ones that there's DNA for proof, right? That's the only ones I gotta. It's the only ones I gotta admit to.
No, but you know, to me, like here we are talking about we're supposed to be living in civilized situations,
Exactly.
and hopefully, I mean, I'm not political in any way. I vote in Sicily every 5 years, but I think Trump is a law and order guy, whether you
I
like
hope
him or
so.
not. You got to feel
I like it.
safer knowing he's in now. It's going to be interesting to see what he does, but I think it's most needed.
Oh yeah, for everyone. You just hope for the sake of the country. And that's the one thing. It's like as kids, you just respected the president. You weren't like a Democrat, so we hate him, or a Republican, so we hate the Democrats. You just respect the president and the position, and
Right.
everybody be for the country instead of against the other
Party.
parties. And I just think maybe
And
he's not
even
your
that's all
favorite.
gone.
Oh, I know.
I mean, our sitting president, Biden, I mean, everybody has cartoons about the guy. I mean,
Yeah,
it's 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 disheartening. And
right.
I mean, I don't want to get into this, but now we started it. But
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that even commercials during the dinner hour
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
are showing mixed. They're inducing mixed marriages. I mean, I don't care what you want. You marry who you want. But why are you doing this during the dinner hour?
Well,
Why and then
it's a,
how can I do this politically correct? They have a commercial the other night at 7 o'clock. And I'll just say it's about a bent carrot.
oh,
I can't believe that they're talking about this during the dinner hour. How many kids are saying, Mommy, what's that bent carrot? What are they talking
right.
about?
Yeah, save that. Well, and it used to be the real racy stuff was on like HBO,
Yeah.
and MTV is where you saw the stuff. But I've seen things on TV that I've been like, is that just TV? And I think of my little grandkids. I was listening to something one of my little nephew was listening to, and it sounded like the movie The Toy Story. That's what I thought he was watching. And this is how out of it I am. I don't sit and watch a lot of TV, but I could hear him. I just thought he was listening to Toy Story. And then all of a sudden, I do not recall what it was they said, but it was like the voices from the Toy Story, but they were talking. I ran in the other room and I'm like, what on earth is that? I thought you were watching a cartoon, but it's amazing how what kind of garbage there is out there on TV. And that the
Well,
kids can see just on your regular channels, not on
oh, yeah.
the
Well,
cable or whatever they're called
the
now.
commercials to me are totally out of order.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I haven't seen the carrot one, but like I said, I don't watch a lot. I have been watching Gianni. I think I found a new favorite. And if you know Billy Bob Thornton, I do love him because he's just
oh, the new show just came out.
yes, it's Landman, I think it's what it's called. I might have that wrong, but pretty it's pretty good.
Got a big cast too. What's the name of that cast?
Well, Demi Moore, I did see
Oh yeah,
Demi
I love
Moore.
Demi.
Oh my word, she's beautiful. Well, didn't you work with Demi Moore in
Yeah, I produced Striptease with Michael
Striptease?
Bell and Andrew Bergman, and
Yeah.
what's something I have a respect for her. Like I never saw a woman like this. At the same time, after she left going to Striptease, the movie we shot in Florida, and obviously it was all about being a striptease, a mother earning money. And the one thing I was confused about, she had her own daughter play her daughter,
Oh, really?
which I didn't like it because here she was in the dressing room
Oh,
with all these nude women. And I'm
yeah.
saying, why are you exposing your daughter to this? And, but during that filming, she was training for G.I. Jane.
Oh,
And she got in such shape. I watched her while we were working. She'd work out every day for an hour or two with trainers when she was not on camera. But I
No
mean,
wonder she looked so good in that show.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
she's
mean, she is,
beautiful.
I mean, a great look, a nice person also.
Well, she's kind of timeless, man. She just is naturally pretty all through her life, has just maintained her beauty for so long.
Well,
She just
Halle
looks
Berry's
gorgeous.
the same type of person.
Oh, man.
Same type of person. It's crazy.
Absolutely gorgeous. All right, we need to do a commercial. We get talking too much. I forget to call the commercial because I'm having so much fun.
Well, the good news is I'm doing this commercial too, because
All
now
right.
it's Christmas time. And what I want to say is that I created a .org. The last sentence in my book, Hollywood Godfather, was yes, you can. I truly believe in that. I have a 501c corporation where anything you buy from going on GianniRusso.com, whether it's record albums or books or whatever, all the money, not part of the money, all the money goes to, and as it says, help educate the underprivileged. And that's what I'm doing with that money. So if it's like buying a gift for a friend that you want, and you're giving a gift indirectly to a kid getting educated, because I see, that that's not going on anymore. I mean, they're closing schools. I mean, I don't know. It's so. I just can't wait for this guy to get in, and hopefully he does half the things he says he's going to do.
Right, right. Well, I'll tell you, I'll make sure I get that in the show notes, and please, if you're watching this on YouTube or no matter what you're on, all the platforms, please like the show, share it with a friend. Let's help get that organization some money to help those kids. But we appreciate you guys interacting with us. Please leave us questions. I'm on Instagram, Gianni's on there, our show's on there.
And yeah, and you give us great ideas for shows.
Absolutely. That's another great thing, is because we keep coming up with week after week with your questions. It gives us just one, more ideas. It just kicks up something in Gianni's memory, and off we go with another great topic. So we do love that. So that is just a great way to keep it going. We appreciate you.
So I guess we wrapped up another show. It's crazy.
All right. I know it. We're getting closer and closer to Christmas, and it's going to be a fun year. 2025 is.
That's my year. 25. 2 and 5 is 7, man. I believe it's 7.
Hey, my birthday's 7/7, Gianni.
I know.
Must be why we're pals.
Yep. All right, my love. Thank you so much. Thank you all out there in Radio Land. And as Jeannie says, keep the cards and letters coming in. Thank you. God bless you all.
All right. Have a good night. Thanks, Gianni.
Thank you, my love.
All right. Good night.
And that was that. But I'll be back.
No regrets, no complaints. Lived a life with no restraints. The little kid they all counted out.